Hey Urs, it's been, well, a year. Well, no, actually, it's been a month. We saw you at NAMM, didn't we?
Actually, it was like 3 weeks.
Yeah, and
weeks,
it's way hotter here than it was in California.
yeah, we didn't get what we paid for.
we certainly didn't. So I see you've got a lovely T-shirt there. This is
thank you, yeah.
Zebra 3 coming since 2012, right? So
yeah, indeed, yeah. So So since 2012, people have been asking when do you do Zebra 3, right? And that was when we didn't even have plans for it. But then we kind of said, oh yeah, we're working on it a little bit, and then it got dragged out. But it's finally shaping up. So we finally have something to show for, and that's where we always wanted to get. And I think that's what I'm going to show now.
So, okay. So we've got development.
Development, yes, alpha, and not really there yet. But
so I would just like to point out before we start, this is incredibly challenging because you can see we've got this huge diffuse light and then nothing here. I have to go in. So there will be a little bit of auto stuff going on with the camera, but I'm sure it'll.
We just explain what we're seeing, and even if we don't see it, right?
Could be just an audio podcast, couldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're showing here is basically an alpha or a Superbooth prototype of Zebralette 3. So Zebralette has always been our free version of Zebra, which is literally only one oscillator of Zebra and an MSEG, so like a multi-stage envelope generator and a little bit around it. And we're doing the same concept again. So we're doing a Zebralette 3, and this is also what we're going to release probably way ahead of Zebra 3 because that's way more work. And the incentive to do this all is in Zebra 2 you have all these, like you can edit your waveforms, you can edit your MSEGs, you can edit all sorts of things, but all the editors, they're all different, right? So you can do something like this here. So in the MSEG is
they use different sort of UI standards.
Yeah, they like it grew over time, and then we thought, oh, for this is better, for that is better. So now we thought we should actually unify all of that and have only one type of editor, and that goes really deep and really well thought out. We hope, right? So if we have a look, so it's pretty much the same thing as it always been. So you have an editor, you can click, you can create your points, you can change your curve, right? And this one here is an oscillator, and here below, this one is an envelope, right? So, and it's the same editor, it's the same thing. You can
it makes total sense to
drag things around. They basically do the same thing. But then in Zebra 2 we also have these bigger editors, and that is where the fun starts now. So the bigger editors have more options, more functions, and our goal there was to make, for one thing, the easiest to use editor, and also the most complex one. And I think we did both in a way here. So if you look at this, so here we have this popular thing where you have a grid and you drag shapes around in a grid, right? And here it's a funny thing. So the shapes they adjust to the direction you use the mouse. Like this goes this way, but it also goes that way, and this way, and that way.
Oh, that's intuitive.
Yeah, and then if you want an envelope, you have this thing, or square things, right? Or we have a thing just to make lines. Like if you want to sequence something with an envelope.
It's almost you've almost done it. It's like a drawing app, almost.
Yeah. Well, it takes a lot of inspiration from drawing apps, and there's going to be way more in the stuff I'm going to show you now or after this. So you can do this, and so it's quite simple, quite quick to do interesting things, and it's like instantly, right? And then we can go to the next stage. It's like this next editor here, which is still kind of the same thing, but now you can change your tools. You can change the curvature of, this is the pointy version of it,
so
right?
It's like CAD.
Yeah, it's actually, that's what it's inspired of. It's like a CAD type of application, and you can still drag things around, and you have fun stuff like this editor here. It rotates things like that, right? Or you can rotate the whole curve if you want to change the phase of a waveform, right? And if this is too complicated, again, you just go here and then you just have your sawtooth again. You go back, and there's just a plethora. Is that the right pronunciation of tools that do all sorts of different things that you would normally expect from like a 3D drawing app, or like something like Blender or something like Illustrator. And you've got, think of, here's the multiply tool, like this, and there's some stuff like you have these secondary curves which are called guide curves. So this is just like another curve, just like the one that we just had, and it glitches a little bit, unfortunately, on this computer. It zaps around a little bit, and with this curve we can manipulate the other curve that's in the background. Like we can cut it off, right, and then off, right. So you can create like really complex shapes that you normally, if you wanted to try to draw it by hand, you have no chance. And it goes rather quick here. It's a bit of a steep learning curve, this second editor that I just showed. The first one is easy as pie, right? Yeah. Everybody is like, and everybody who we observe doing it is like, you do it in no time. And then this one is like the super complex stuff where you can do really crazy things.
And this would work for oscillator and modulation. And
for oscillators, it's the same for oscillators as for MSEGs or any other type of curve.
So it's just the scale, I suppose, of the time domain that's the difference.
Yeah, basically, yeah, indeed. It's just that, and in one editor you can set loop points and things, and one editor has like it goes like almost endless, and this one is just always like in its certain time, one cycle of a waveform, right? And and there's like stuff like that where you can quickly draw things, and I just accidentally clicked that, and like that. So, and the other thing that Zebra always did, which I want to show maybe first with the preset, is that you could not only draw these waveforms, you could also morph between them, right? So, and here is a waveform that starts as a sawtooth, then triangle, then square, then pulse, and you can just, and you have to, it's here, and you can just morph between these different waveforms, right? And it's continuous, right? So it's not like cross-fading between them, it's actual morphing. And for this we have a third editor here. I can show this here. So like here you can see how you have the two adjacent curves always, right? And you see how it morphs.
So the high points are mapped to the high points and the low points mapped to
it's always like one curve looks for the right points in the other curve. And I always had for a while a preset that I always show, because that's like crazy waveforms, and I just switched these guide curves.
I mean, so it almost looks like a wavetable with interpolated sort of.
It is
scanning.
It is almost literally like it creates a wavetable in the background, but continuously. So like 1,000 times a second, or every so and so many samples, there'll be an update where it checks out, something has changed, so I have got to move there, and then a cross-fade between the old one and the new one, which is it does that in the same quality as Hive, which is highly regarded, right? Because it's got the very smooth wavetable interpolation, and Zebra does this with these waveforms. You can like ease them and.
So you got splines as well.
It's all spline based. Everything here is spline based. I mean, like busy splines, right? So you can work with it much like the paths tool in Photoshop and stuff. Right. And
so is this actually an oscillator wave now? Could we hear what that does?
Yeah, indeed, we can actually. That's the actual point, isn't it? So I'll just. Oh, I have to press this button here. Or this.
And then there's also those kind of little sweet spot points along the way that you might want to pause at, and
I mean, some waveforms are, natural fits for morphing. Some sound, some are a little bit glitchy even. You can do really glitchy morphs where points overtake each other, which is the absolute crazy stuff. But with a little bit of experience, you can make very, 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 very nice and clean and smooth sounding morphs. And this one has effects on it. That's okay. That's something I will show later. This one has effects too, I guess. So okay, no good. Okay, we go back to this one because that's and I crashed it.
Hey, well, that's how we can tell it's an alpha, right?
Yes, that's the one. The one thing I was not supposed to do was click on it without dragging with this tool. So I just but that's
That's that's what you get when you look under the hood of these things. Sometimes the engine is not clean.
Yeah,
it's not a concourse yet, right?
So that's also that's why we don't put it out as a beta or alpha straight away. We still have to work on it a little bit, And so maybe there's another thing that I actually really want to show us. So you have all these capabilities, but you can also here on the left you can take a waveform, a WAV file, and drag it on it, and boom, there it is. And you have it imports like several cycles, and it has several options to select different cycles automatically, and it then also morphs them, and then hopefully it sounds a little bit like it would have. Well, it's really, I turn it up a bit. And if I take some other frames, maybe like this one. Oh yeah. So this was
it's almost filtering, isn't it? Because you're cutting off all those harmonics.
So the original sample is a quick filter sweep that I did with Repro, with a bit of resonance on it, right? And it's I can show you what it normally looks like. This is like I don't know, like 60, 70 samples or cycles, and it sounds like that.
So
And the software automatically selected the cycles that were like most different and
So it is almost like creating a wavetable out of a dragged and dropped.
Yes,
right.
yes. But all the waves are editable as splines, right? So it's not directly a wavetable. It doesn't have the resolution of a wavetable, right? But on the other hand, the morphs are continuous.
It's like an FFT sort of.
It does FFT in the background.
Yeah.
But it doesn't do that right now. So it's easy to create new waveforms out of samples. You can have single cycle samples. You can do all sorts of things. So the idea is super complex. You have all the options that you have like in these really complicated software things, but you can also use it as simple as you want and as quickly as you want. And and all the tedious work, like if you do morphing in a video app or something,
You've got to hand put all of those points in.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done that in years, but it used to be like really tedious editing, and this is not here anymore. So it doesn't do everything. Not every waveform can be morphed into another waveform without any glitches or anything, But
I suppose, actually looking at it, there's a clue in your poster here, isn't there? Because that is a spline-based.
Yes.
Could you play that? Would that actually have you loaded that into the?
That would be slightly difficult. It needs another dimension, right?
Yeah,
So,
okay,
but and then the other thing we did, which I have to show now, or would like to show, is let me take like a. So this is of course it's just a.
Sine wave, yeah.
And we also worked on the oscillator itself, right? So let me just, here. Okay, that's the actual sine wave. And Zebra always had oscillator effects. So we did these here too, and there's a couple that we already finished or that are like halfway there. Like your DX. Let me just quickly find a note. And I just turn it down a little bit. Right, and you can modulate that. That's just like it's always been, and we added one more like here, like sync, right? And you want a different waveform for that. You want a it's got zoom in and out very quickly, like this kind of stuff, right? And then it's got stuff where you work like randomly on the spectrum, like this does like a noisy, almost sounds like a superstore, right?
Yeah, interesting.
It goes like right.
I think they call that the hairy triangle, don't they, in the trade? Or is that the hairy sawtooth?
And then you can combine these, right? And then there's another fun thing is so here you have like your typical oscillator unison. I turn it down a little bit maybe. That's your typical unison oscillator thing, and that's basically in the background. It's a wavetable engine. So the wavetable engine gets the waves from the splines, and the splines or the wavetables, which are made from the splines, are processed by the oscillator effects, and then it's played back as a wavetable with unison and whatsoever. But then we added a second playback engine, and that might not even, it says 0 and 1, and 1 is, it uses up to 1,000 independent sine oscillators. Okay. So it sounds the same, right? Yeah, the spectral noise is not as strong on it. But then what you can do is you can use these curves here, and we have these guide curves, right? You can use the guide curves, which you can edit just like you would, and these are the ones that are currently jaggy on this computer, and I don't know why, but doesn't matter. So you can use the curve to repitch the harmonics of the waveforms of these sine oscillators. So as long as this is a flat line, there's no distortion at all. So it's your sawtooth. But as soon as you add points like this and this and this, and you can distort them, right? So you can have totally inharmonic and complex and metallic spectra.
It's kind of like subatomic level oscillator editing, isn't it? It's really.
And it does really crazy stuff. Like you can, when you drag this, let me just quickly. If you drag this down to the bottom here, then all harmonics arrive at the fundamental. This might get a little bit loud, so turn a little bit down. But no, I think it's all right. Right, so all harmonics went down to the fundamental, and then when you do like a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it sounds really sci-fi.
Oh wow, that's really interesting.
And then you have, of course, still have the oscillator effect.
Oh my.
Wait, let's get. There's this cool one which is called Spurs. Spurs randomly removes harmonics.
Are you going to be able to save kind of sub presets of the oscillators? Because it sounds like you could spend your most of a week in here just kind of exploring and not even get to the filter.
Yeah, it's still just one oscillator, right? Well, internally it's of course more and stuff, but it's generally just one Zebra 3 oscillator, and I mean it's a very, for me personally, very important thing, because that's what I've been spending months and actually over the years, probably more than a year on, and on and off whenever I have time.
It's your passion project, right?
It is, absolutely, yeah. It's
so, I mean, where do you think people, because I mean, for me, I'd be looking at this and thinking, well, this is great, but I might not spend a lot of time here. I mean, but so where will people, do you think, get the benefit from this stuff?
Well, first of all, there will be, of course, oscillator presets, right? So you will be able to combine all sorts of things. And I'm fairly sure that some people will dive into this and do absolutely amazing stuff, right? So in Hive, for instance, we have this scripting language for wavetables, which is called like UHE maths. And this is a funny thing. You can actually copy these waveforms, and it's a text file, and you can paste them into these scripts and use them in the mathematical formulas in the Hive scripting language.
Wow!
Right. So this is like where
super nerdy, right?
Super nerdy, but there are these people. It's like Plugmon, right? This guy from Japan who makes skins for Hive and also for other synths, and he creates wavetables and he creates patch sets or sound sets. They're absolutely amazing what he's getting out of it, right? And it just takes a couple of people to create absolutely stunning content that will hopefully,
then everybody gets to hear it and use it, right?
And it will, I think it will change a lot of things in this kind of realm. So, simple things like you can also copy the waveforms as SVG, and then you can paste them into Illustrator, right, or whatever graphics app you have, right? So this will be.
Oh, can you paste them back again as well?
You can also paste them back, but it has to be an SVG, and it's easy. If you have an SVG on your hard drive, you drag it onto it, that works, but it's often pretty random what's coming out of it.
Right, and you wouldn't get real-time sort of changes of curve changes and things. You'd have to, there's a process, right?
Yeah. But what we did is some of these icons that we have here and these shapes, we actually made in the editor and then saved as SVG and use it in our UI.
Wow, that's totally meta, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? That's almost getting to that. What's the scientific? It's the sci-fi theory, isn't it? That you send to explore space. The ships have to be able to replicate by using 3D printers. So you're sort of doing that in a small way, and they can almost make themselves.
Recently we talked about Filterscape, right? And Filterscape has this graphical representation of the EQ curves, and we did these curves actually in this editor. So we created we took the EQ, the frequency response of the EQ in all of the settings, and then we created a wave file which had the EQ curve of it. We dragged the wave file in there, and that's how we got the curves, and the curves are now in Filterscape and on the UI.
Wow,
right?
that's
So
neat.
this is super. Is this meta?
It's interesting. It's because it's like the old when everything that Native Instruments used to make was sort of developed in Machina. I mean, it's almost like you're getting to a situation where you're creating a development environment for all your other stuff. Yeah.
And we want to also use this, right? So the thing is, Zebralette will be free again, right? It's going to be a freeware, and you will be able to create all these fancy wavetables and.
Wow, we're getting the wind. We're having everything now.
Fancy, you can create all these fancy things, and then you can of course you will be able to export them into for other synths, for hardware synths, for Eurorack synths, or whatever takes wavetable files, right? You will be able to do that, and So I think many people will use that also to work for other applications, and they're welcome to do that, right? So we embrace that, and we hope that people will then also give back by putting out their work and make it available to us or to our users, right? So I think, I have the high hope that this is gonna be embraced and
lots of different ways. Yeah.
Even the stupid word is disrupt, right? So it's like everybody's to disrupt.
Influence.
Influence, right?
There we go. That's a bit more positive, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. When I mean, obviously, I know this is work in progress. I mean, and asking a software developer to give us a date is just
well, it will not be.
I refer you to my T-shirt.
Less than 11 years from now. So we think this will be ready this year. We're very certain of it. That at least beta. There will be a beta this year. There must be. It just must be. And then. We secretly, of course, in the background work on all the other stuff of Zebra 3. I don't think we'll be able to show it this year, but high hopes that next year you will see it in one way or another. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Urs.
Yeah, thank you for being here.